Good afternoon / evening, guys. Falcons Nation out there. So this week we hired Raheem Morris. Definitely big news. So there's been a lot of chatter as far as, was he the right hire? Mixed reviews from what I've seen. I think I'd like to think a lot of the community, the majority of the community, is generally good on this hire, if not okay on this hire. But obviously a lot of people, not feeling it so much. Anyways, Raheem Morris was hired this week as the new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Just to share my take on it, initially when I first heard the news, I was sort of lukewarm on it. While I was glad that we did not go the route of Bill Belichick, I wasn't sure if Raheem. Initially, I wasn't sure if Raheem was the best choice based on what I wanted to see the team do. And what I wanted to see the team do was hire a offensive guru like a Slowick from Houston or Ben Johnson from Detroit or somebody, or if we could have gotten Harbaugh, somebody like that who's really good at developing quarterbacks, and then get a young prospect in the draft like a Jaden Daniels, or if we can trade up for Caleb Williams, cool, or Drake May, or even trade for Justin Fields because he's still young. So that was the route I was kind of looking for, hoping to see. So when we hired Raheem Morris, my initial reaction was, I like the guy, but can he take us in the direction we want to go, especially with our offense? But that was just my very initial reaction when I first heard it. But the more and more I read into it, as far as what went into hiring him, how much he's been backed, words of encouragement from Mike Tomlin, Sean McVay, Les Snead, people all over, Kyle Shanahan, all over the league have really advocated for him to get this head coaching job, or a head coaching job, and just refamiliarizing myself with what he has done up to this point, as well as what kind of conditions he was working under before. I now feel great about the hire. I love it. I think it will galvanize our team in a way that wasn't before. And I think he has experience on both sides of the ball. So I think he will know what's needed as far as an offensive coordinator to bring in. I'm trusting him to this point. And I'm very optimistic to what he's going to bring. And I feel now world's better, and I feel really optimistic, and I feel really great about the hire. And just some context as far as, because a lot of the criticism for people who are not thrilled about the hire is, his past coaching history is with Tampa Bay way back over 10 years ago. And, the fact that he had a losing record there, only had one winning season, didn't even make the playoffs, that sort of thing. And also when he was interim coach after Dan Quinn was let go, the team went 4-7. So just some context there. I actually got this information from somebody who had knowledge of the situation that was posted on Twitter. His @ is JC Delatorre. And so this is where I got this information from, which goes into a deep dive on what exactly Raheem Morris was dealing with in Tampa Bay. So Josh Gruden exited very suddenly because the Jay Glazer and the ownership were in the process of purchasing the soccer team, football team over in Europe. And they were basically ready to do a complete rebuild, be cheap, not go after any free agents, release any bad contracts, all that, and basically give whoever was coaching there little to nothing to work with. And John Gruden wasn't about that. So he and the Glazers parted ways from Tampa back then. And Raheem Morris was basically kind of thrown into the mix as the new head coach. So, and he was young. I think he was only 32 years old back then. The Glazers subsequently let go of key pieces of the defense and as well as the offense who had large contracts. They would not let them sign any free agents or any key free agents whatsoever in free agency. And Raheem Morris was not even allowed to pick any of his staff. They dictated everyone who was supposed to be on board. He had basically no say in that. He could not bring any new talent to his team, and he had little to no control over what he had to work with. So he was basically set up to fail. And remember, he was only about 32 years old at this time. So very young guy stepping into a very difficult situation and really set up for failure. And the year they went, I think the second year he was there, they went 10-6 and just barely missed the playoffs, which was a shock. Remember, they had Josh Freeman as their quarterback back then. And if y'all remember who Josh Freeman is, he wasn't great. So just to make a long story short. So anyways, so of course, something happened in the subsequent year after the 10-6 season. They went to London. I think they were 4-2 at the time. And they went to London and played a game there. And apparently something happened because after that London game, from all intents and purposes of people who were close to the team, covering the team back then in Tampa Bay, the team basically just quit. They stopped trying. They had showed no heart, and they subsequently got blown out the next 6-7 weeks of the season. And this ultimately led to Raheem Morris's departure in Tampa Bay. Now, going to the year, the 2019 season, I believe it was, when he took over for Dan Quinn as interim, that team was not good. That Falcons team under Dan Quinn at that point in the season was not good. We had been blown out or lost, I think, the previous 7 games. And our defense had been looking just absolutely abysmal, especially in the secondary to that point. Very easy, just blown coverages all over the place, which was baffling because Dan Quinn's defense was a specialty, and yet our defense looked absolutely terrible at that point. Raheem Morris took over at that point, and while we went 4-7, losing record from that standpoint, the team was a lot more competitive. The score differential was much closer. The team played with more fire, more heart, and he got probably the best he could out of that team given the circumstances after Dan Quinn's departure. And the team, the players loved him. And it's actually questionable, why we let him go, why we didn't hire him then to be a head coach when there was such positive feedback from the team. But the 4-7 record, despite the performance, may have been a key factor. But anyways, we ended up hiring Arthur Smith, at that offseason. At the time, I was optimistic about that hire too. But after a couple of years, especially the way the quarterback situation was handled between Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder, I was ready for Marcus Mariota to be benched halfway through the season. Not initially. I had hope in the beginning of the season. I thought he showed some promise. But last season, in the 2022 season, by that Chargers game in which he overthrew Kyle Pitts twice wide open, I was ready for him to be benched. I think that was week 8 of the season. So initially I was hopeful for Marcus Mariota. By the middle of the season, he needed to be benched and let Desmond Ridder come in and show what he can do. And then we would have had a better idea about Desmond Ridder coming into this past season, 2023. But no, Arthur Smith didn't do that. He stuck by Marcus Mariota because that was his guy he brought in. And then we got 4 games of Desmond Ridder, had mixed results. So, of course, it wasn't enough information. Came in with this season with Desmond Ridder. Didn't really have a good alternative at quarterback outside of him. And, of course, we know what happened now. So, anyways, Raheem Morris, I'm now very excited about this hire. I think it'll be really good for us. But the other big news that came out this week was that Rich McKay is no longer going to be involved in football according to the Falcons press release that came out after the hiring of Raheem Morris. Rich McKay is no longer going to be involved in the football operations of the Atlanta Falcons. He is now shifting his focus over towards Atlanta United now. Now, he is still the CEO of the group that manages the Atlanta Falcons, but he is going to be focusing more, according to the Falcons press release, he's going to be focusing more on Atlanta United, and Terry Fontenot, as well as Raheem Morris, are going to be reporting directly to Arthur Blank. This is a very positive development, in my opinion. Okay, I believe most people would agree that Rich McKay's presence in football operations has definitely done more harm than good. I believe he has the best intentions. I know he wants to see this team win a Super Bowl as much as anybody. But he was removed as a GM for a reason back in 2007. When Thomas Dimitroff came aboard, he was removed for a reason. And even now, the process of selecting Arthur Smith and then how his departure was handled with only him and Blank being at the press conference, among other things. It was just, it's not the way you want to run a franchise. The best teams usually have a general manager pick their coach and then work with the coach to make sure that coach has the type of players he needs to run the system that he wants to run. That's how it should be. So Terry should be allowed to find his guy and have control over, who's drafted, contracts, that sort of thing. That should be him, and let him have that role. But unfortunately, up until now, it had been Rich McKay. But hopefully now, that's not the issue anymore. Hopefully now we can truly see Terry do his thing. And now I think he has been doing his thing, especially with drafting. I think he's done a very good job drafting. But now it looks like he will truly have a chance to show just how good he is. And I think he is really good as a GM. I'm really excited about it. I really feel good about the tandem between him and Raheem Morris. I think there'll be good chemistry there. And I think it'll be, I'm very excited about, what's to come. The biggest obviously question is we got to solve our quarterback situation. I still am hoping that we go for a young prospect in this draft. I like Jaden Daniels and I like Caleb Williams. I'd be fine with Drake May too. Those are the three that I would like. I'd like us to get at least one of those three guys. Or if we can trade Justin Fields for a reasonable price, I'm okay with that as well. But that's the route I hope we go. I'm not a fan of the whole bringing a veteran like Kirk Cousins, even though I think Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback, despite his struggles at primetime. I want to see a young quarterback with a lot of talent and a lot of clear talent and ability to really stretch the field, be dynamic, that sort of thing. That's what this team needs, and we have got to be better at utilizing our weapons, which I believe Raheem Morris will facilitate with the offensive coordinator he brings in. I trust him to make the good decision there, and we got to be able to utilize our weapons. The way Kyle Pitts has been used the last few years has been criminal. Drake London needs to be getting 10 targets a game. Kyle Pitts ideally needs about 10 targets a game as well, if not more. And then Bijan Robinson should be getting 20 touches a game, pure point blank. He's too talented not to be. So Bijan needs to be getting at least 20 touches a game, and Drake London and Kyle Pitts need about 10 targets a game themselves. The best offensive play callers and schemers know how to get their best players the ball, even if they're, even if the opposing defenses is scheming for them to cover them. The best play callers can still find ways to get them open. Arthur Smith didn't do that, both with his play calling and his scheming. So we got to be able to do that this year. And then, of course, we got to get the quarterback situation. We got to hit home on that. Okay. So obviously the best case scenario will be if we have a situation similar to what Houston had with CJ Stroud. That'd be the best case scenario. But, it's asking a lot. But again, I'm hopeful. So right now I'm feeling good about where we're at. I wanted to just comment a bit about the whole Bill Belichick situation. So if you watched my previous video, you heard me earlier in this video, you know that I was not a fan of bringing Bill Belichick aboard. I think Bill Belichick can still coach. That's not what I'm saying, especially defense. However, the last 3 years in New England should speak for itself as far as his inability to draft well. I believe out of the 40 draft picks he's had since Tom Brady left, only one Pro Bowl out of those 40 people that he's drafted since Tom Brady left. That and the fact that, I don't think Mac Jones is as bad as he has looked, but he has had to operate under the worst circumstances, and that has been directly Bill Belichick's fault. That was under his watch. He brought in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to be his co-offensive coordinators, essentially, and that was a horrible decision. He brought in Bill O'Brien. That didn't work out. Mac Jones still didn't look good. And he's always bringing in his guys. You want to bring in his guys. And I think that same thing, and from what I've heard, what I've read in reports on how the meeting went, you want to do the same thing here. He wanted for front office control. He wanted to be able to have a say and bring his stuff, his culture, everything here, and bring his people. He probably likely would have brought Josh McDaniels here. I don't want Josh McDaniels here. Seeing what he did in Oakland and Denver and how he bailed on the Colts, I don't want Josh McDaniels here. And possibly Matt Patricia coming with him. No, I don't want Matt Patricia here. I don't want him bringing those folks here, because that's likely what would have happened if we had brought Bill Belichick here. Yes, Bill Belichick is one of the greatest, is the greatest coach of all time, and he can still coach football. I have no doubt about that. But bringing him on board would have brought so much baggage that I don't believe would have been good for this team. I'm not saying I'm definitely right. I'm just saying this is what I believe. Okay, so you can disagree with me if you think so, but this is what I believe what would have happened if we brought Bill Belichick in, and I think it's best that we left it, that we did not go that route. Okay, so I'm glad we didn't hire Bill Belichick. I think we got the right guy in Raheem Morris. The players love him. He has the backing of some of the best coaches around the league. He has done an excellent job as a defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach. He was on that. He's been in 1 Super Bowls with the Rams. He was on that staff with the Washington at the time Redskins that had that amazing collection of staff who have all become head coaches at that point. And he was on that 2016 squad. He was here when the 2016 Falcons went to the Super Bowl too. So great guy, great coach. He even admitted himself he wasn't probably ready when he became Tampa Bay coach, and now he has learned a lot. And so I believe he will be substantially better as a coach. And I believe his players will be galvanized under him, and I believe he will get the best out of his players. So I'm very excited now. Again, initially I was lukewarm when I first heard the news, but now I am very excited after hearing how well those meetings went, why they hired him, the kind of backing he has gotten from coaches, and how excited our players are for having him. So I feel really good. I think he'll work really well with Terry. I think he'll bring in a good offensive coordinator. And I'm very, very excited about that. Okay. So that's all I wanted to cover today. I'm really optimistic about the offseason. Obviously, this draft is going to be huge, and we got to get some good talent on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to our quarterback, of course, but we also are going to need possibly 1 or 2 offensive linemen. We're probably going to need a couple of folks in our secondary just to shore up that spot, just to make sure that we got our pass defense covered. But I feel really good about this. More videos to come. Thank y'all for joining me today. Have a good day.